Hello everyone, thank you for coming or for coming back. Today I'm going to show you how to make a strawberry shortcake trifle. Trifle is so tasty. It is one of those things that I sort of forget that I like, and then I make it again and I'm like, oh my goodness, why am I not making this every single month? So all the ingredients and the measurements are listed down below, and we can start baking. Now before we start, I am actually going to say that depending on the dish that you use to make your trifle, you might need different measurements of pretty much everything. The dish that I used was 6 inches, so it is 6 inches around as well as tall, but if you use a different size or a different shape, then you might need a few more or a few less of some of the things, so just keep that in mind when you are measuring. So the first thing that we are going to make for our trifle is the sponge. This is a very nice light vanilla sponge that I really like because it soaks up all of the things that you put in the trifle, so it gets nice and soft and flavorful. So for this we are going to start by cracking all of our eggs into the bowl of a stand mixer or a large mixing bowl that you can use with a hand mixer, and we are also going to add our sugar, a pinch of salt, and our vanilla. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to beat this on high speed until it is nice and light and fluffy. Now one thing to keep in mind is that you should be using room temperature eggs for this. It will just help them to beat up a little faster, and it'll just help them get to their full volume. If you don't have your eggs at room temperature, then you can put them in a bowl of warm water and leave them out for 15 to 20 minutes so that they warm up quite a bit, and it makes it a little bit easier for you for this recipe. So we are going to beat all of these until they are nice and light and fluffy. This will start out as a rather thick, bright yellow mixture, but it will slowly pale and get a lot of volume. And you know that you are done mixing when you take your whisk out and it leaves a nice little trail in your egg mixture. I like to do a figure 8. And if I can see the figure 8 when I get to the end without it all disappearing, then I know that I am ready to move on to the next step. So now we are going to add in our flour. We are going to sift this in to make sure that we get rid of any lumps and to make sure that we don't immediately deflate all of the air bubbles that we worked so hard to make just now. And we are going to fold in our flour. So you're going to take a nice big spatula and you're just going to sort of go around the bowl and sort of flip or fold the batter onto itself, and keep repeating this. This just helps to make sure that you don't deflate all your air bubbles. If you just stirred, then they would disappear so much faster. So we're trying to really keep a lot of this volume. After your flour is almost completely folded in, we are going to add our oil, and we are going to fold it in until it is completely combined. Now our sponge is ready to be added into our pans. Now the size of pan that you use will depend on your trifle dish. Again, I have a 6-inch trifle dish, so I'm using a 6-inch cake pan. If you have a different size dish, then you can use a different size cake pan. And if you don't have a cake pan that perfectly matches up to your trifle dish, you can just put it in a large sheet tray and then you can cut it out using your dish as a guide. So I just went ahead and divided this into my 6-inch pans that were lined on the bottom with parchment paper. This ended up making 3 pans full for me. I only ended up needing 1.5 of these, so I ended up with a little bit of extra cake, but again, you might not. So divide these out, and then they're going to go into a 375-degree oven until they are nice and light golden brown on the top, and when you press them, they spring back and they don't feel like they're still liquid. Now that our sponge is all mixed, we can move on to making our pastry cream. So for this, we are going to start by adding all of our milk into a saucepan, and we are going to put that on to heat up to a simmer. While that is heating up in a small bowl, we are going to combine our egg yolks, sugar, and cornstarch, and you're just going to whisk this all together. Now at first this isn't going to seem like it will mix together, but just keep on mixing and I promise it will. It will turn into a liquid. It's just the cornstarch and the egg yolks. They don't quite want to mix together at first, but it will get there, I promise. Now once your milk has heated up to a simmer, we are going to slowly add it into our sugar egg yolk mixture. making sure to whisk the entire time so that we are tempering our eggs and that we're not going to get any cooked eggs in there. So go ahead and slowly add your milk while whisking, and once it is all added, we can put it back into our pot, making sure to scrape out the bottom of the bowl, and then we can put it back onto a medium heat and whisk constantly until this becomes a nice thick pastry cream. And then we're going to take it off the heat. I like to sieve it here through a fine mesh sieve just to make sure that I have a nice smooth pastry cream with no little cooked egg bits. And then we're going to go ahead and add our butter and our vanilla and stir this in until it is combined, and then we can leave it to cool. Now, if for whatever reason you need this to cook quickly, then you can put your bowl of pastry cream into a larger bowl filled with water and ice like an ice bath, and you can just keep stirring it every once in a while until it is cooled down. But if you are not in a hurry, then what you're going to do is just cover this up with a layer of plastic wrap directly touching the surface so that it doesn't form a skin, and then you're going to put it into the fridge until it is cooled down and ready to use. The next thing that we are going to prepare for our shortcake trifle is our strawberries. Now, I have a lot of strawberries here. I didn't end up using quite all of them, but we are going to prepare them in two different ways. So we are going to have some cut strawberries that we are going to use for decoration, and we are also going to cut them up and make them into a sort of really simple homemade jam. So depending on the size and the quality of the strawberry, I would switch back and forth between slicing them and cubing them. If they were sort of small, or if they were maybe a little bit mushy, then I would cut them up to be used in the jam. But if they were a nice size and still nice and fresh, then I would slice them and they were my decorative strawberries. So you're going to go ahead and cut them all up, and then our cut strawberries are ready to go. But for our jammy strawberries, we're just going to add a little bit of water and a little bit of sugar, and we are going to let that cook on a medium heat until the sugar is all dissolved and it has sort of thickened up a little bit into a sort of syrup with some strawberry bits in it. And then we can just set that aside to cool and move on to the one last thing before we are ready to assemble. So the last thing we're going to do is something that you should do when you are closer to be ready to assemble, and that is our whipped cream. So you're just going to go ahead and whip up your cream, adding sugar and vanilla to taste. I really like mixing my cream up in these measuring containers because something with tall sides just makes it easier to not lose all your cream and have it flying everywhere while you are mixing it up, but that really isn't important, just something that I like to do. So just go ahead and beat this to stiff peaks, and then we are ready to assemble. So now that we have all of our components, we can start assembling our trifle. Now with my cakes here, you can see that they are nicely cooked and cooled. They are a beautiful golden brown on top and nice and springy and spongy and ready to go. So for the cake, again, like I said, I have a 6-inch cake pan and a 6-inch trifle dish. So all I have to do is cut mine into 2 even layers. If you are cooking this and you don't have the pan that is the same size as your dish, then all you're going to do is trace around your trifle with a knife into your nice big sheet tray of cake, and then you'll have a layer that will fit in your trifle dish. So the assembly here is really up to you. You can do it whatever way you want. Me personally, I just decided to go with a layer of cake, which I then covered with my nice thin sort of homemade jam, because I wanted it to sort of soak into the cake and make a strawberry flavored cake. And then I put my nice pretty layers of sliced strawberries around the outside, just to help really drive home the point that this is a strawberry flavored trifle. And then I covered my jammy strawberries with a layer of pastry cream and then a layer of whipped cream, and I repeated this 3 more times. At the top, after covering with my whipped cream, I made sure to make sure that it was really nice and level, and then I decided just to cover the top in a nice layer of cut strawberries. I actually went ahead and cut up a few more strawberries that I had, just to make it really clear that there was an abundance of strawberries in this trifle. And here we are, it is all done. This is honestly so cute. It is so just like it just makes me happy looking at this trifle. It is adorable. And I will say that if you use something nice and tall like this, then when you serve it up, it's not going to be pretty. So make sure that if you're having a dinner party or a dessert party, or if you're showing your friends, that you show them before you cut it and not as much after you cut it, because it's not going to be pretty. It's a little hard to get out. There's a lot of cream and a lot of jam in there. It's gonna fall apart just a little bit, but I promise it is so, so tasty. So, thank you for watching. I hope you make this. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time.